Good afternoon, everybody. It's your old pal Overland Metalhead here, coming to you live on a rainy day in London. Hope the weather's pretty good wherever the hell you are in the world. Today's vlog, we're going to be doing like another top 10. So, we're doing is top 10 bands, artists I've seen live. Now, we're going to do it like 10 to 1 as usual, but I'm going to have a special mention for Mr. Henry Rollins. I met him in April 2008 in Utopia Records, and he signed my DVD of Uncut in Israel. Henry Rollins is a very down-to-earth person, because the conversation, well, like I said to him, "Hi Henry, I'm Martin," and he's like, "Hey Martin, nice to meet you," and he shook my hand firmly. And I told him about how I'd wasted 12 years of my life listening to pieces of shit until I found heavy metal. And then I reminded him about the ELO records, and he told me there was only one ELO record that he liked, because he used to listen to a lot of ELO before he saw the Ramones. So, let's get down to business. Right. Styx, saw them June 2019, just last year. Really good to see J.Y. Young, Tommy Shaw, and the original bassist, Chuck, despite the fact what he's gone through in the last 20 years with his cancer and his HIV diagnosis. But Chuck came out for 3 songs. And I don't feel sad that there is no Dennis DeYoung and all, but Dennis DeYoung has to get his brain together and try to rejoin the band some way, because that's what a lot of people want to see. They want to see Dennis DeYoung on stage, not some Scottish Canadian guy. But Queensryche, August 15, Electric Ball in Camden. I had to go to London that day because I was living in Birmingham. I had to go in for my national insurance number interview. It was a horrible day because of the tube strike, so I walked all the way from Victoria to Whitechapel. After my national insurance number interview, I took the tube, well, the Overground tube, to Camden Town, and I saw Queensryche, Death Angel, and Almond Satan one night. I became good friends with an American guy called Arthur, who's been living in the UK for many years, and he's the band manager of Joan of Arc. And we're really good friends. We get a lot of gigs every now and then. And also, it was quite special because it was the first time I'd seen Total Torah on the mic. Because last time I saw Queensryche was in Sydney 2009 when they had Jeff Tate. After that gig in 2009, Jeff Tate just went downhill. Like, we wasn't singing the good songs, he was bold, he was doing cabaret stuff, and then years later he was fighting with his bandmates in Brazil. I got no disrespect for Jeff Tate. I like what he's done in the 1980s, but now he just isn't the same person from 40 years ago. Number 7, Heart, one of the best non-metal bands I ever saw live. I saw them in Phoenix, Arizona. I clearly remember this gig. I had to fly from New York City to Minneapolis, change planes, fly to Phoenix, and then walk all the way in Phoenix until I found a gas station where a taxi driver took me to the venue. I got to shake hands with Ann and Nancy Wilson after the gig as I was putting my hand over the barrier. I was even getting hit on by a 45-year-old plus married MILF who kept on hugging and kissing me. God, I kind of wish I got with her that night. Heart has influenced a lot of women in rock and metal these days, because when I first started listening to Heart, there was filling in the void after I chucked out all this bullshit Olivia Newton-John albums, and then months later, I chucked out the rest of all the shitty Kylie Minogue albums. So, if you're a woman, or you're a girl, or a teenager these days, you should be listening to Heart, Pat Benatar, Linda Ronstadt, Stevie Nicks, rather than today's bullshit retarded musicians. Because, like, in my opinion, Heart rock. And if there's no Heart, there'd be no Vixen. D.R.I, dirty, rotten imbeciles. Saw D.R.I May 2010 at Maryland Death Fest in America, Baltimore. I remember I was in a circle pit for at least 20 minutes, and all the songs were like 30 seconds or 1 minute like long. This is what hardcore punk or crossover thrash is all about. There are only 2 original guys in D.R.I left, and haven't put out a full-length album since 1997. But D.R.I still tour the world. When I came back to Australia, a lot of my friends were jealous that I had seen D.R.I. I told them I saw to see D.R.I. at Hellfest, and I'd give them the finger and like and swear at me. I saw D.R.I. in Cleveland the following year in Hellfest. Number 5. Love them or hate them, you gotta see them live. Kiss. I saw Kiss, Cleveland, France, at Hellfest 2013. It was an iconic set because they were using the spider stage they use in Europe and North America. That spider stage setup wasn't brought to Australia until 2015. If you really want to see Kiss, now's the time to see them because they'll be breaking up in a few years' time. It was quite iconic to see Paul Stanley ask everybody to yell his name out so he could start flying, and then Gene Simmons was spitting blood and blowing fire, and then Eric Singer's like drum kit was up and down and up and down, and all the guys were on like platforms were like raised up in the air and all. So yeah, gotta see Kiss even if you don't really like them or you're not even not to rock music. Also another band a lot of people hate, but I kind of like them. Well, I used to like them when I was young, but not anymore. Slipknot. I saw Slipknot in October 2008 with Machine Head at the it was like Sydney Superdome. Like the name keeps changing like now because of the sponsors. It's just like a big arena. Saw them there. I got to wear a Mick Thompson mask, and everybody in the crowd was yelling, "Hey Mick, what are you doing here, man? Get up on stage and all." Like throughout the night, I only found one other person who was brave enough to wear a mask. Even security were very paranoid of letting me in with the mask and all, in case you're getting your lights punched out and all. This was kind of like a sad gig because in 2010, bassist Slipknot passed away. Yeah, so it was quite like the last time Australia got to see the original 9 members of Slipknot. Like I even remember somebody like pelleted a water bottle at the bassist. I've drawn a mental blank. I'm trying to remember his like name. But then also in the years to come, Joey's been fired, and so is Chris is fired. So Slipknot isn't really the same as what I saw in 2008. Duh. Now this one's local to heart. It's a band called Forgery. Now Forgery were 3-piece bands that performed in Canberra in 2007, and they played a gig at this pub in Canberra. I had to do a jailbreak out of my shitty dishwashing job in Sydney to go see this band. And it was a good, like, 7-song set list with a few covers of, like, Sodom and, I think, Venom. But then, like, years later, Forgery became known as Hellbringer. Now, Hellbringer's still around. They just don't play gigs that often because they're looking for a new guitarist. I saw Hellbringer a total of 16 times in my life in Australia. And they're a band that really do remain really close to me and stuff. And I'm good friends like Luke and Josh and all, and I made a good talk about them on stage in London last year. And number 2, King Diamond. One day in Sydney in 2016, it was February, I got with an older woman. Then I rushed to the library and bought a ticket to see King Diamond in London. Then I went to work, and then I went to a gig that night. I did 4 things in one day. So this is February. The King Diamond concert wasn't going to happen until June 2016. After a bit of heavy upheaving at my home in Sydney, I moved back to the UK in the end of April 2016. But I had to dick around for the next 8 weeks. I was unemployed. I was without a home. I had fights with my housemates because of room body odors. People were wasting my time, calling me in for job interviews in Berkshire after I was in Aberdeen. And I was really fed up that nobody was giving me a chance. So I went to live with a cousin of mine for a few weeks until the King Diamond concert. When I saw King Diamond, that concert made me cry. Because this Danish guy from Denial of God, he told me, if you ever see King Diamond, see him in Denmark, because when a man sees King Diamond in Copenhagen, it makes him cry. And it did for me. I had to leave the UK the next day and go like traveling in Southeast Asia and all. So, Merciful Fate are touring in Europe this year, but I'm not too sure I'll be able to see them because these festival ticket prices, they're just right up the wazoo, you know, really. It's like a ticket to Copenhagen in Denmark is like £250. So I'm already planning on going to Africa like later in the year. And the number one, no surprise given, Dream Theater. But it's not the first time I saw Dream Theater. It was the second time I saw them. It was December 2009. They were playing the Horton Pavilion less than 24 months after their first Australian tour. I paid $250 Australian to meet the band and get my Images of Words vinyl signed by like all five guys, including Jordan Rudess, even though he wasn't on the album. And it was quite iconic because 9 months down the track, Mike Portnoy left. It was the last time Mike Portnoy ever played Australia like as a Dream Theater drummer. And when Mike Portnoy left, I was really devastated. But there were some reasons how I thought, why do I think this gig was much better than the last time I saw Dream Theater or the next few times I saw Dream Theater. Reason being, Dream Theater were playing selective songs from different albums. The last 3 times I have seen Dream Theater in Europe, excluding the Slovakia gig, they just play like one album in full. Like in 2017, it was Images of Words. I just came back from seeing Dream Theater in Trondheim, where they did Scene from a Memory in full. So, even though Dream Theater's 2008 concert really influenced me to turn away from disgusting, horrible, evil, retarded pop music and all, their second concert in Australia, in Sydney, was much better than the first one. But then when I saw them in 2014 in Sydney, 5 years later, it was an okay concert, even though they're playing half of Awake and half of Scene from a Memory. But it was still good, even though Mike Mangini was behind the kid, not Mike Portnoy. Anyway, this is Overland Metalhead, over and out. Have a good day. Take care.